I'm TarotOracle, and this is the Sola Busca Tarot. This is a reader's course where we're going to teach you to read with the Sola Busca. Obviously, this is really sort of meant to be a decorative deck or something you put on the side. It does not necessarily have direct correlations in many cards to the Rider-Waite-Smith version. However, I think it is possible to read with this, and let's give it a shot. Again, this is just my 2 cents on interpretations of the cards, and going from, obviously, the book that comes with the museum version, museum quality version. So our first card is going to be Motto, M-A-T-O. Now, remember, these all come from, well, the majors mostly come from Roman figures across history. So this is obviously going to be the Fool. We're wandering into situations unknown. This is card 0 as well. The first thing that you'll notice is obviously they have a crow sort of accompanying them. Crow is a lot of times associated with the afterlife, with the nether regions, etc. And it is, instead of a dog, we definitely have the crow. You also notice that the crow has quite a firm grip on this person's shoulder. We can zoom in here and you can see that is a big hunk of skin that they are grabbing on and hanging on to with dear life as they wander around with the Fool. The second thing you'll notice as well about the crow is, they're having an active conversation here. They're very interested in the Fool. They want to know where he's going, what he's doing. So you do have a companion similar to the dog in the Rider-Waite-Smith version. Another thing is we have pretty loose clothing here. I mean, it's not like that they care much. It's like, I'm not really prepared for this venture very much. You'll see that also if we zoom out a little bit with the boot as well. The boot is well worn. It's loose. We have an overall theme of loose clothing, or things that are just pretty casual. It's not like super serious. We're not in full armor and gear like we do have with some of the other cards where we're fully armored up. Oh, this is obviously not fully armored up, but I mean, at least this is armor, shield, helmet, things like that. This is more of a decorative casual card, and it should be treated as such. We're on a journey. We're on an adventure. Decorative, casual, just the way it goes. We're also an entertainer, as you can see from the bagpipes. So we're looking at entertainment. We're looking at providing a level of, music, a distraction, and things like that. So if we get this in this reading, we're looking at, indeed, a casual distraction or a journey towards somewhere, and we're taking it pretty casual. A lot of times we'll go on a journey and we're super serious about it. We prepared for hours. We've mapped out everything we're going to do. I want to go to this museum. I want to go to this theme park. I want to do this restaurant. The Fool obviously is a much more unprepared casual adventure as we go. So when you see this in a reading, again, not only do you know it is an adventure, but it is fairly casual to boot. All right, speaking of boot, again, we have one loose and one that, looks pretty well worn as well. So this other thing to remember about this is that, we not only not really prepared for it, over prepared for it or anything, but we're also leaning into a long journey. I mean, we have these boots are already worn. The clothes are already well worn. This is a longer journey. This is not our first journey. We've been on many, and that's why all of our clothing is just sort of in shambles at this point. The other thing to notice are the rocks and the ledge behind them and the mountains. Traditionally, when you see mountains in the background on most tarot, and you look at the symbolism books, there are tough times ahead. I mean, there are tough times ahead, tough times behind us. We're sort of related, or we're sort of moving into tough times. You'll see that with the rocks as well. We have to sort of navigate this field of rocks. We have to pay attention where we're walking, or we're going to trip and fall, and it's not going to be very advantageous. So that sort of is how that is going to turn out if we engage upon this adventure. All right, the next card is going to be the number 1, which most of the time is associated with the magician. This is Panfilio. You can see the Panfilio. The proper name is Marcus Babus Tamphilus, sometimes called Panfilio in Italian. So this was a praetor in 192 BCE. They were magistrates with executive power and whatnot. So, as far as being a reader's course, how are we going to deal with this particular individual? Well, the first thing that you'll notice is that this person is well suited for the trip. And we're back on a trip. We haven't really taken a vacation or a break from the trip. We, in fact, are very serious about it. We have a weapon. So we have a weapon in this particular trip. Not only that, but the back of the hat is drafting in the wind, like we're actively walking. And you see that as well with the active walking motion that we have here. The other thing we see is the pointed finger here, basically telling us where we're going to go. So where we're headed, right? Sometimes we are going on a journey. We're definitely having other people follow us as well. So it's not a journey by ourselves. We are very focused on getting help. We're very focused on talking to people, tell people where we go. You see the person is also actively talking. I mean, if we zoom in here, you can see that their mouth is literally open. They are talking, they are excited, they are ready to go. So there's somebody else on the right that they are pointing to. We have gestures. Now you remember in the card combos / card interactions in the various videos and texts that I've written, when you have a gesture towards something, it's indicating that that is important. So if we have a gesture over here to the Fool, then we could be gesturing over there and basically bringing this card to light. We're emphasizing, or we are pointing out various things within the next card. So now you have a card interaction going on. Not only are they headed into the Fool's direction, but they are also pointing and wanting others to follow as well. So you have a leadership ability here. So when you're looking at this card, you could have a leadership, but it could also be an involuntary leadership. In other words, somebody else has assigned us to do this, or somebody else has told us we need to go forward and get that done. The other thing is we could be a bit bossy. If we get this in a love reading, we could be headed in that direction, but we could be pretty bossy about it. So another thing to watch out for is how high and low are the shields in the various cards. Obviously, this is number 2. We're going to put to that in just a minute. But you'll notice this person has a shield that's raised way up. Now, again, this is just all my opinion because we're looking to read with this. So my opinion is that a high shield, an active shield, where we're actually guarding ourselves, we're going to be in a more guarded or a more active state of defense than we would be if the shield is on the ground. If the shield is obviously not present, we're even in a casual sense where we're not ready to go to battle. And some cards indeed do not have a shield, but most of them do. And I think when it holds it high, we're more defensive towards something than when we're low. Obviously, this is a pretty casual hold upon the shield. Not only are they not holding it and being active with it, but it's resting. And you'll see this with other cards as well. We have a resting shield. So a resting shield basically means that we're not defensive about it. So if we're in a love reading and you're asking, does this person still care for me? Or how is this going to go? It is going to go better when they're not too defensive about it than when they are more defensive about it. And again, just my 2 cents based upon, sort of playing around with the deck, looking at the deck, meditating, trying to figure out some of the details on here. All right. So there you go. There is Panfilio. and Panfilio is headed somewhere, pointing that direction. Also resonates with the magician as well. So he does have the skills to do what he needs to do. All right, the next one is Lucius Postumius Albinus. That is Postumio, which obviously you see Postumio here. Postumio is holding a wand with fire coming out of it. A torch, a wand. He is holding that. Not only that, but he does have a sword at the ready, and he's holding up a shield in a very defensive manner. Now, where the torch is pointed is also important. So some people have the torch pointed down. Some people have the torch pointed in the upright position. Now, the hat represents a Phrygian cap. It is a distinctive cap, and this is from, by the way, the game of Saturn. So the cap definitely has a symbolism to it and is a standard cap that is worn by others. Another thing you'll notice is we do have the knee guards, which are not on every card. For example, we have the knee guards here. We have knee guards here. Now, these are more well blended in to where it's not so obvious that we have those as opposed to something like this. But it still is interesting because, again, like if you look at Mario does not have knee guards at all. So it all depends on the card and how that's going as far as that is concerned. In the distance, we have a tower with a skull. And some of the books talk about the skull is laden with gold, and the tower as well is sort of a sacred place, or a place where people could possibly go to worship. It's definitely a temple. So as we're sort of looking to this, they're heading towards the temple. They have the torch lowered, and they are sort of in a defensive manner. This could indicate being defensive or being hesitant about the journey forward. Not only that, but we have a low level of illumination with the torch pointed down. Obviously, a torch pointed up, we want to illuminate a lot more things, as opposed to obviously the torch pointed in a downward direction. So we are headed towards the temple. This could be a place to get knowledge. This could be a place of worship. It could be a lot of different things with that. But we're definitely defensive as we head over there. Which brings us to the question, are we ready to do that worship? Are we ready for this journey? Why do we have such a defensive attitude? So if we're looking at maybe a job reading, maybe we are being defensive about things that are upcoming. Maybe we want a low level of illumination due to things that are upcoming as well. Now, obviously, we also have card interactions. If we have a source of light and it's pointed at the adjacent card, we are illuminating things in this other card. Now keep in mind, it's pointed down as opposed to up. So the level of illumination we're giving to this card over here is going to be relatively low. But we still are bringing some attention towards it as well. But now we have card interactions. Look, we have Panfilio is actually headed towards the temple as well. We could have a group of people heading towards this temple for worship, for sacrifice, for some higher meaning. In other words, there could be a group involved here rather than just one individual that is headed in that direction. Now, obviously, who is going to be more defensive in this situation? Postumio is definitely going to be the more defensive person as far as this goes. Obviously, this is going to be a power card, maybe a religious card. If we pull this during a reading for, am I psychic? How can I develop my psychic abilities and whatnot? We definitely have some meditation, some worship, some temple in mind here as we sort of go through here and head over to the temple for some action. So again, we'll look at card interactions a lot during the course, but now we have a group headed the exact same direction. Panfilio seems to be the one in charge here, doesn't he? doesn't he? Okay, we have a group going to the temple. Panfilio is doing the ordering. He's actually talking over here to Postumio, and he's saying, hey, let's head over. So if we're looking for a leader between the two different cards, obviously we have Panfilio being the definitive leader. Now, if we do have card interactions with another one, we have the Fool, we have Mato checking out the temple. We have Mato is a bit distracted, obviously, by the crow, but Mato is still looking in that direction, so he's aware of the temple. He does have some barriers, he does have some mountains in the way to get to that temple. We have to sort of climb, scale the mountains, get over the hills, and get to the temple. It's going to be a much rougher journey for Mato than it is for Postumio, right? So we do have that. Obviously, we still have the illumination affecting this other card once we look at interactions as well. But this is sort of the, headed out to the temple, headed out looking for higher meaning. So if we have, let's say, how am I going to do on a test Thursday? We definitely have a journey towards the test. We have an enlightenment towards that test, and that's going to be good for us as well. So that is basically sort of, how we're going to look at number 2, which is Postumio. All right, the next card that we have in the series here, running them down, is Trump number 3, Limpio. Limpio is M. Linnaeus Strabo. Is the agreed upon person that this points to. But Limpio is, in the 1,000-year history of Rome, there is one Limpius. So there you go, from the thing. So from the book, he has a vision impairment, and that's why we have one eye covered. Master of the obvious here, one eye covered. We also have a bundle of herbs that are going into the pot. So if we're looking at, Breath of the Wild game to where we're mixing stuff in the pot, we're making some new things. We have some new things going into the pot. So Limpio, again, we're talking about vision impairment. We're talking about cooking. We're talking about creationism, getting things done, making new things and whatnot. One of the books also talks about that he had an aviary or something like that. So first one to use aviaries in which different species of birds were kept. So that's sort of interesting there. Anyway, so we do have vision impairment. All right, so we have the creational aspect, we have the vision impairment, and we have open-toed shoes. So when you see open-toed shoes, by the way, you're not looking at a long journey, all right? Let's look at open-toed shoes for a minute. We have open-toed shoes in Panfilio, and we have open-toed shoes in Limpio. So if you look at both of them, these people are not going on a long journey. This is not going to be miles and miles and miles of journey that we're on, right? But if we do have closed-toed shoes, which cover our toes and protect us for longer journeys, like we see in Postumio, then we're definitely prepared for a bigger journey, a longer journey. And you'll see this with many cards that have open-toed shoes. This is not a long journey. So how does this translate to a reading? Let's say we have a new relationship. Obviously, Limpio would point to maybe we're not going to be on this a long time. Maybe this is not going to be a huge, lengthy relationship that we're going to have within this matter because of the possibly open-toed shoes. The next thing you'll notice is the shield is down. So obviously we're not defensive about this. So if we're going into said relationship, we're not too defensive about it. We're pretty relaxed about it. This is not going to be a huge thing that's going to be a big problem. Now, we do have vision impairment, or we are having trouble seeing clearly. So this sort of puts us in a hanged man position where we have skewed vision. also puts us in a Two of Swords type feel to where we don't know all of the details. We're blinded somewhat. Not fully, though. Not fully. So our blindness is not complete. It is just partial. So we're missing some important facts with this. So let's say I have a reading about a new relationship. I just met somebody. How is that new relationship going to go? Well, with Linpio, now we have obscured vision. We don't have all the facts yet. So either they are hiding some things from us, they may have some secrets that we are not aware of quite yet, but it is sort of important to understand that Linpio means we don't have all the facts. So if I'm going into a new job interview, I don't have all the facts yet. There are some things that could be disadvantageous coming up, and I just don't know it. There could be some things that this new partner is being secretive about, and I just don't know it yet. So that is going to be kind of a problem, right? It's going to be a bit of a problem. As Linpio says, we don't have all the facts. Now, we do have the creational aspect. We're cooking. We're blending things together. Seems like the temperance, right? We're blending two cups together. We're blending two worlds together. We do have a creational aspect here of creation, something new. And this is reinforced by numerology with the 3. Now, you remember the 3 does indeed stand for creation, creating something, giving birth, doing something like that. So we are creating something with the pile of herbs, and we are sort of moving towards that. So there are a lot of different meanings here with Linpio. Again, another fantastic card with the Sola Busca. And that sort of brings us to a close. I want to make these kind of short. This hasn't been short at all. But anyway, this brings us to the end of the first in the majors of the Sola Busca. So now you're prepared to do readings. Now we can literally do some readings, right? Maybe Linpio doesn't want to see the temple. Maybe Linpio has 0 desires to go see this temple. Maybe he's not too thrilled about it. Maybe the creational aspect, but he does see it. I mean, it is in view. Does he want to head that way? Absolutely not. He's resting against here. He's doing his own thing. He's not quite prepared to head to that particular temple. He's not quite prepared to move forward. He is aware of the other card, but just not so much. Now you're sort of interested in Postumio. Did he light the fire over here? Is this a mutually beneficial brew? Is it a mutually beneficial food, or is it a mutually beneficial creation that we have going here? Because it almost looks like that Postumio is lighting the fire that Linpio is using to cook. So again, card interactions, all sorts of interesting stuff. Anyway, that is my first video on the majors for the Sola Busca Tarot. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you in the next. And the rumors are true. Did you know I had a Patreon? A Patreon is where you can support me if you like the work I do. If you like the things that you see on the channel, consider supporting me. What do you get, you ask? By the way, 51 patrons. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for all of your support. Everybody on screen is a Patreon supporter. Thank you, and thank you again. I cannot tell you how much your support means to me. I greatly appreciate that. Now, why are they there, you ask? Well, you get all the handouts from all of my projects. So if I have a handout for the collabs, or the Tarot in the Seasons, the Selling Your Tarot on Kickstarter, Psychic Fair Secrets, all of the handouts, all of the cheat sheets. You get it all, including all of my books that I've written, the TarotOracle's book, Echoes of Nature book, and the upcoming book that I have for the Waterfall Tarot deck. In addition, you get the Fluffy Virgo Lenormand, and all the Lenormand cloths are all included. But the best part, one of the best parts as well, is I teach you how to draw. So if you're interested in drawing stuff, if you're interested in getting pet portraits out the window, I teach you secrets on how to do that in like 4 to 5 hours. You can draw the animals you see on the screen. I have secrets to how to do it super quickly. I have super quick method to where everything you see on the screen was done in 4 to 5 hours. What can you do with this? You can go to your local Facebook groups and sell it. You can go on Etsy and sell pet portraits and make some pretty good cash. I mean, on Etsy, just by the way, this is 15 hours, 15 to 20 hours of information and actual instruction. I show you all of the pencils to use, how to use them, all the techniques step by step. Nice slow manner. And again, this is only 4 hours work. I mean, you see people on Etsy doing realistic pet stuff. They're charging over $100. So, you know, if you're interested in this, if you're interested in cranking this out in like 4 hours, then definitely see my course. My actual pets look better than that. That's kind of, I mean, that was like a 3 hour job there for me. But yeah, the actual pets look better than that. I mean, look at that and compare it to that. I mean, mine look better. I mean, I'm just saying, mine look super realistic, and I only do it 4 to 5 hours. Anyway, thank you for supporting and watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, we'll see you next time.